Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Right Guys podcast. Did you hear? Biden said that you're garbage. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back, Right Guys podcast. Happy Wednesday, less than a week to the election. My name is Max McGuire here with Mr. Producer Josh Hammerling. And as you alluded to in that little intro, we are garbage. I don't know what's better. Is it better to be a Nazi or garbage? Is it better to be deplorable or garbage? Is it better to be irredeemable or garbage? Right? What was the term that they used in the pandemic? Non-essential. Is it better to be non-essential or garbage? They've come up with so many words to describe us conservatives, people supporting Trump or people not supporting them. Garbage, the newest one. I'll tell you, I heard it last night, and it did remind me that today was my garbage day. So it did help me get my trash cans out to the street. Yeah. So I do appreciate that, Mr. Biden. Thank you for that, because I have been missing garbage day a couple times. So I see him giggling in the room, waiting to come on. So why don't we bring on our guest, Mr. Todd Fossey? Welcome.
Projection propaganda, my friend. Projection propaganda. You know what? Today is my trash day too, as a matter of fact. And I checked to make sure that I could fit myself. I could fit myself in the trash can.
Yeah, there you go.
I've never been more proud. Just call me Oscar.
Oscar.
Trash man. It pissed me off. I got really angry when I heard it. Because how many times have we gotten a new nickname where they try to demonize anybody on the right? And it's just, I was pissed off. We were giggling about it, right? We think it's funny, but man, I was kind of ticked. But then I realized that we were in the middle of an election, and the last time something like this happened, the deplorables was used, and we got a Trump win, right? So it's them putting their own foot in their mouth right on cue. That's the way I'm seeing it.
I had fun. Today with the AI image generator. It took a little bit to get to work. I got Trump on the side.
Yes. Wait! You need kittens. You need kittens with AR. Kittens with ARs in the background.
Yeah, puppies with rocket launchers. It was funny. All the pictures show him unhappy, so I actually had to tell it, make him smile.
Oh, okay.
Make him smile.
Because it kept coming. Like I can show you one that it popped out. It also popped out this one, which is like that one's not fun. Lots of funny stuff. But it really is par for the course. And they've spent the past week. I mean, their closing argument is that we're all Nazis. It's interesting. Trump supporters are Nazis because the Nazis went to Madison Square Garden once, but Kamala Harris had a rally on the National Mall, and the KKK has had rallies on the National Mall before. I don't see anyone saying that she rallied where the KKK used to rally. It seems to be a very one-sided rule. We know why. But to me, his supporters are garbage. It's so much worse, especially because it's in response to a joke that Tony Hinchcliffe told, who's a roast comedian, a joke like making light about Puerto Rico's well-documented problem with its landfills and its sanitation programs, and they have trash piling up because they have nowhere to put it because it's an island with no landfills. Well documented. They assumed that he meant the people when he didn't, and yet Joe Biden says people are garbage, and now they're saying, "Oh, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it."
Yeah, but Max, you're dealing with postmodernism. And so they can there is no moral objectivism. There is no rationale. There is no reason. There's nothing to argue with. They can turn it into whatever they want to, and it's 100% acceptable to them. That's why I call the two parties are the rational party and the irrational party. What this is a very well orchestrated, very sophisticated war on reason. Because if you think about it, it's an attack on Western civilization, and Western civilization was built on moral objectivism. So the more that they can undermine moral objectivism, the more that it forwards their agenda of global totalitarianism. And that's what we're after. For me, anyway, here's how I deal with it. Like, I spent 15 years as a psychotherapist, right? And I know when I'm going to be around a bunch of crazy people at a dance that they're all going to be dancing on the crazy dance floor, and I'm not going to go dancing with them, right? So they can dance, or they can dance all they want, and the more of their crazy dance that they do, the more that people wake up. And that's what's been happening. I was awake 23, 24 years ago, and I was the only one I knew who was awake. And now people have been slowly waking up all around me. And so I see it sort of as a blessing, right? Thank you. You got it all figured out there, don't you, big guy? All figured out. This is your deep state ilk. This is all or nothing for you, and you know it. Your back is against the wall, and if things don't go your way exactly the way you need it to go, you know that you're in big trouble and that justice is coming for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so let them throw everything at us in the kitchen sink, because the more desperate they are, the more that they expose themselves. Now, some of the things I'd like to talk about, I'll let you guys talk since I've been dominating this, but there are some things along those lines that we need to prepare for, right? Because it's not like they don't have power, right? And when a wounded predator is cornered, they become very dangerous, and that's exactly where we're at.
Even wounded prey.
Yeah.
Even wounded prey. Right. Exactly.
Well, let's, Josh, I'll have you talk. After you talk, we're going to play the video just in case anyone happens to have missed it, because they are spinning it as fast as they can to try and cover up what Joe Biden absolutely said. Josh, I'll go to you first, though.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that the spin machine has been so crazy, and you can see what there's nothing left to stick the wall. So what are they going to, what arrow are they going to pull out of the quiver? Is it going to be the most dangerous arrow they've got? So, and that's where we're at, and it makes me paranoid. So
I've got a list of arrows here that we can cover later.
Okay.
Shandy says in the comments, so flipping pissed, deplorable didn't bother me. Garbage does. Mandy says, I prefer rubbish.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of a sense of humor to this, because for all of the talk of Trump is Hitler, Trump is a Nazi, saying that half the country is garbage is dehumanizing language. It's designed to dehumanize the opponent in your supporters' eyes.
Well, look who they've chosen look who they've chosen, right? I mean, that the whole thing is intentionally meant to be demoralizing.
Yeah.
You will be led by incompetent morons. Yeah. That's what they're trying to tell you. That, like, either one of them would I hire to clean my yard this winter, to do, clean up the leaves. Yeah. That's the whole idea, right? You will be led by incompetent fools.
Incompetent fools, but also Joe Biden clearly suffering from some form of mental decline, whether that's Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever the diagnosis is, it's something. And one symptom of that is that you can have these moments of clarity and lucidness, but you also lose the filter. And the things that the inner monologue that you say, oh, I shouldn't say that. Oh, I shouldn't do that. That kind of goes away. And if anyone has experienced this with loved ones or friends, people start picking fights. They start saying mean things to other people that they never would have said. So Joe Biden yesterday saying Trump's supporters are trash or garbage. Yeah. He can be crazy, he can be stupid, he can be incompetent, but it can also be one of those moments of clarity where he's actually saying what he means all along. Here's the clip.
Yeah. Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of things is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
That is pretty straightforward. The only garbage I see out there is his supporters. But the White House coming in with what we call the ninja edit. Let's edit the transcript to add a apostrophe S. So he wasn't talking about us all. He was talking about only Tony Hinchcliffe, which I don't think that is better. I don't think it's better for the president of the United States to say that one person is garbage. I think the president of the United States saying that any American is garbage is unacceptable. It doesn't work, though. It doesn't work in terms of the structure of what he said. I went ahead and pulled it. Every time he used the word he or his, he's referring to Trump. So you don't get to just say, oh, well, for this sentence, he's actually, his wasn't referring to the same person it was referring to always. It was actually referring to a different person. He can't be, Tony Hinchcliffe can't be his and the supporter. It can't have it both ways. And no matter how you slice it, Joe Biden said something unconscionable, unacceptable, dare I say irredeemable, to borrow their language from 2016. And it came off to me as a stunning moment of clarity where he's saying what he actually feels, and the filter that had always stopped him is no longer there. And let me ask you this, guys. While Kamala Harris is on the National Mall at the Ellipse in his backyard, right? You can see the White House behind him.
Why isn't he there? Why isn't he there?
Why is he there? We know why. But why is he at the same time what looks like he's in an off the side room doing a media hit on a laptop while she's delivering her closing argument speech? Why is he doing a media hit on his laptop?
I'm pretty sure he was pooping his pants again while he said it. I could see it. You know when you see a 2-year-old that walks over in the corner and they get real quiet and you know why they kind of hear these little these little grunting sounds coming out while
they bend the knees a little bit.
Yeah, and they bend at the waist a little bit. That's what I saw there. This is a 5th generation war. This is information warfare. And it adds a lot of confusion. And the more emotional that human beings become about something, a message, the more suggestible they become to the subversive message. And this is very sophisticated subversive propaganda. It's meant to brainwash. It's meant to impact us in certain ways. And that's something that I actually have formal training in.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what they're doing. They want to create more smoke and mirrors and confusion for us to focus on, while they set up something else. What is that?
He hates her.
What is that something else? Go ahead.
Matt, he hates her. I think he hates her. She had a big speech in Michigan that was finally going to go nationwide on cable news. They were all going to cover it. What does Joe Biden do for the first time in his entire presidency? Walks into the press briefing room. First time. Just so happens to be right as she's getting a national coverage for her rally, right? Her campaign says, don't go anywhere. Where does he do? He starts popping up in New Hampshire, starts popping up in different states against the will of the campaign. She's in his literal backyard delivering what she says is her closing argument, and he's doing a media hit piece on a laptop where he says everyone who doesn't vote for her is trash. You don't do that. If I wanted to deliberately sabotage a campaign,
that's what I was going to say,
without like overtly doing it, that he's running the playbook.
Yeah, it felt like complete sabotage. Total sabotage. But why do it?
From my point of view, that makes my point.
Makes your point. Why so? Because this is like
because it's because it's the law of reverse action. For one, and two, I'm not so sure that Kamala. I mean, let's face it; she didn't receive a single voter delegate.
I know.
In the name of defending democracy, right? And my opinion is like my opinion is that she's just a placeholder. She's a placeholder for another play down the road, which is probably something like, we can talk about what all the options are, which is probably something like invoking the 14th Amendment on January 6th.
Yeah. Well,
right.
He is the placeholder for her. If she's the placeholder for someone else, eventually these Russian nesting dolls have to run out. Like, you can't open one and like, oh, there's another one. Oh, open up, there's another one, right? Eventually you have to get to the end of this road. They ran with her because that's all they could really do. I think they realized they'd be painted as racist if they skipped over her.
Though.
But yeah, no one voted for her. No one wanted her. They were talking about replacing her on the ballot a week earlier. And she would be a better candidate if she went through that process. If the cream rose to the top and she survived an actual competition, she wouldn't be this inept right now, right? I mean, she's running
my view is that makes my point for me, because they need somebody to be inept so that they can totally and completely subvert everything that is constitutional or American exceptionalism. It's designed to demoralize us, right? We've got two extremes. You have a total type A, exceptional in every way on one side, and on the other side, you have someone who wouldn't qualify to do anything other than to, get on her knees and spread her legs throughout her entire career.
You mentioned the 14th Amendment. I assume
Josh looks mortified.
I was just sitting there thinking, these are the two worst candidates you could possibly come
exactly.
up with.
Exactly.
Max and I have talked about this at length in private. I'm like, why would you pick them? She doesn't know what she's doing. She
That's
would
why.
fall apart. And you're making the point, right? That she was fall apart. The intention was that she is going to fall apart and that you would replace it with something else, because some sort of power has to fill that void, right?
You've never heard anything other than word salad.
Yeah.
Her entire history is completely fabricated. Her main narrative with her origin story is completely fabricated. I mean, that's to me, like that is the point. And then we will install anybody that we want to.
Well, if she wins, asterisk, if she wins, and they successfully put someone in the White House who no one ever voted for, they'll never hold another primary. They'll never do it again. They'll never do it. Why? Why risk the people voting? Right? In 2008, they were pissed that Barack Obama beat Hillary Clinton. They were happy when he won 2 terms, but the establishment was furious. It was Hillary Clinton's turn, right? Then fast forward to 2016, Bernie Sanders. They literally put their finger on the scale to stop Bernie Sanders from stealing it from Hillary, from winning it, right? Then you fast forward to 2020. It had to be Biden, couldn't be anyone else. They're putting their finger on the scale there. And then this year, putting their finger on the scale to stop RFK Jr. from participating in debates. They said, oh, we don't have debates. Joe Biden's our man. Joe Biden's our man. We're not having any debates. When it's finally all said and done, it's I'll pull him out, put her in, so she didn't have to go through that process. If they succeed, they'll never again hold another primary. Or if they hold a primary and they don't like the winner, they'll just take the compromat or whatever language you want to use to describe it, the skeletons in the closet, and force them out for their preferred candidate.
This is the final showdown. This is it. This between now and I'll just say January 20th, maybe a little bit longer than that actually, is it. It's this window where the fate of the world rests. The whole world is watching this because they know what this means for them. They know this is about global totalitarianism, right? Versus Republican nationalism. When I say Republican, I mean republics. I mean constitutional republics, right? That's what I mean. It's all of the terminology and the words have been distorted intentionally. They've all been designed to mean something else. That's why I believe you see people now who have been Democrats their whole lives who are switching over to Republicans because they're not woke enough. Mm-hmm. They're not left enough. That's how far left we've moved. Our Constitution was designed as a moderate document.
Yeah.
A centrist document. Right. And so to me, this is for all the beans. It's that serious. I'm laughing about it, but it's kind of like gallows humor.
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
It's like kind of like gallows humor. Mm-hmm. You're going into the final battle and you're like, F it, let's go, let's rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And that's what's about to happen right now. And I'll just say this too, since I'm in this vein right now. I've been researching this obsessively. Josh kind of knows this about me. I've been researching this obsessively for over 20 years, well over 20 years. And I have some pretty solid sources, pretty high up in certain communities. Let's put it that way. And I am anticipating. I think it's realistic and probabilistic to anticipate breathtaking events that this country and possibly the world has never seen between now and January 6th.
It's a powerful statement. I want to ask you something here. A long time ago, someone said that we're in a war of words, and you said we were in a war of definitions. I feel like there's been a series of these mini wars leading up into this point, and you've alluded to it a little bit. So what is the war that we face now? It's not the war of words. Is it the war of
It's an
powers?
information. It's an information war. It's a fifth generation war. It's a covert war. And I've been trying to. For those of you in the audience who are listening, check out General Flynn's books on information warfare, fifth generation warfare, and it does a good job of spelling it out for the layperson. That's what this is. There are kinetic aspects that are happening to this war, but the majority of it is happening through information and the persuasion of the mind and the persuasion of belief systems and cultural engineering, social engineering, economic engineering, right? And so that's where a lot of it is happening. Do I believe that a lot of this it also takes place covertly through weather warfare, right? And other weapons that the public isn't necessarily privy to, like
that stuff's extreme, isn't it?
Directed.
That made me laugh when the National Atmospheric Oceanic, whatever it is, the NAOO, whatever it is, put out a tweet last week saying they're debunking it. We cannot control the weather. I'm reading it. I was like, well, if you could control the weather, that's the exact same thing you'd write, right? Like,
yeah,
pronouncing that you can't control the weather means nothing, because if you could, you'd still deny it.
So HAARP stuff is 60 years old. I mean, I have my suspicions.
It's older than that. Listen, you can only have so many coincidences.
Yeah. Like
you can only have, you can, it just, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not playing along. I'm not to you guys. I'm saying, but I'm not playing along anymore.
Well, let's talk about the coincidences. We're going to talk a little bit about your self-defense training later. But you have the IDS program, and I assume Josh is involved with it. I assume that you teach everyone what pretty much every self-defense trainer says. You train to be ready for the real thing. And the more you train for the real thing, the more prepared you are for the real thing. I want to ask you, what do you think this training was all about on the National Mall at the Capitol just the other day? They're practicing helicopter evacuations. I don't think I've ever seen large-scale helicopter operation, like evacuation trainings on the National Mall. We got to get everyone out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't train if they didn't think that was a possibility. And I don't think it's a coincidence, like you said, for the other thing. I don't think it's a coincidence they're doing this training right before the election.
Yeah.
No, there are no accidents. First of all, other organizations do not practice training people for reality. I could spend 5 years explaining why, and I have the receipts to prove it. Josh knows that. So there's that. I'm the black sheep of the industry, and I'm proud of it.
But you know what I mean? The general thing, like you practice for the game, right? General.
We do. Okay, so I'll say that. But in terms of what's happening on the mall there in DC, that's a really good question. It's not an accident. I'll say that they don't spend that kind of time and money and effort and that high of visibility for no reason.
Oh yeah. And
what is it? I think they would need more. They would need far more Blackhawks to evacuate the Capitol.
Oh yeah, but I looked at that and I saw, like, you don't have to land on the National Mall. You just have to learn how to land on any field, which they already do, right? Doing it that out in the open, that publicly,
Yeah.
That almost seems to me sending more of a message to people like us than it is teaching those Black Hawk pilots the benefits of landing in this field as opposed to another field at our training range.
The question is, who's sending the message?
Yeah. Well, here's the other question. This is getting a lot of play now. DOD 5240.01, September 27th. DOD memo, new regulatory authority, giving the Pentagon approval for, quote, assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated. DOD 5240.01. Now, I am a student of history. I know that the U.S. military is not allowed to operate on U.S. soil. It's something that comes up. It comes up every time there's a natural disaster. Posse comitatus. It's a law. U.S. military can't operate on U.S. soil. They fired people and demoted people for having the audacity in the military to direct traffic during an active shooter situation because that was the job for local police.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're planning here, but it is nothing short of absolute catastrophe. Absolute catastrophe. Because it can be nothing but absolute catastrophe.
Yes.
They can't help in any other situation.
Yes. Okay. Do you want me to comment? Would you like me to comment on that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with that directive that came out. I'm going to pull back farther. I'm going to pull back farther from 30,000 feet to 100,000 feet here. In my view, both sides who control the chessboard want a collapse, a total and complete collapse of our financial and economic system, our banking system, our monetary system. I think both sides want a total and complete reset. They want to hit a big red button that just resets everything. And then both sides believe that they're going to be in control on the other side of the chaos. This is one of the things I've been worrying about, why I have some of these pieces on the chessboard that I would like to be able to touch on and talk about, to be able to warn the public a little bit. Not that you guys haven't. I've never seen your show before. I assume that you have, but maybe there's a little bit of insight that I can add to that. I have questions, let's put it this way, based on certain executive orders that have been in place, based on certain presidential emergency directives that have been in place, based on some of the things that I've learned over the years about the Law of War Manual, based on what I've learned about continuity of government, things of this nature, that has me asking questions exactly who's in control.
Yeah.
And I think that's a complicated answer for who's in control right now. But what if it was the good guys who put out that directive? That puts a different twist on it, doesn't it?
Different spin. Yeah.
Okay. You're right. It doesn't make it better.
You don't want to reach that point.
No, but they may have war gamed this out to the point where they know it's going to.
Yeah. They're talking about chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high yield explosive incidents. My understanding was they didn't even need to put out this memo. If there's a nuclear attack in the United States, the military is allowed to respond. Posse comitatus goes out the window. This almost feels redundant unless it's meant for something else.
I think it prepares the minds of the public who are awake and aware enough to pay attention to a directive like this, to prepare themselves mentally for what may or even probably is coming down the road.
You're talking about a complete and total shift of the seat of power. If it's not
100%, 100%.
Where is the shift of power going to lead to? Because it wouldn't surprise me if they were to try to just turn tail and leave the Capitol, right? Why stay at that's not the seat of power anymore. So what's this value of it, right? There's so much to go on here. Plus, if you've got all those people that are going to be there for the inauguration, and something like this was to happen, it would be horrible. And it's kind of opening my.
I know it sounds crazy, but I am looking at this as best as I can from the most objective point of view possible. My opinion is, I know how this is going to sound, but my opinion is that this election inauguration process will not be normal. My opinion is that there will be a special election that will be held due to a constitutional crisis, and that the next inauguration will happen in the spring, and that we will revert back to our original constitutional republic.
Do you think that if Trump wins or if he loses? Or do you think
if Trump wins, I think he already has.
Yeah. I mean, it's really looking good in pretty much every bit of polling.
And they'll never allow it. So if you have that level of unrest and you have factions within the seats of power, I'll just be very general about it right now, that happen to be American citizens that are working against Americans, then it may require the military to use lethal force to protect the republic. Look, I'm not claiming as though I know. I'm just offering account. I'm not a prophet. I'm just offering a counter point of view, looking past the first few layers of this, because this is a 5D chess game.
Yeah, which means the pieces are already in place. So
yes.
If that's the case, then what's the orders look like? And then, if because as a real citizen, citizen defender, how does, like, when I started with you, in about 60 seconds, I knew you were about truly defending whatever that may be. And I continue with this training because I think that someday I may have to defend myself. And it comes down to maybe even defending the republic. So how do people start looking? Where would you start directing folks, right? How do we recognize the signs if the war is beginning? Or what's the pre-fight indicators on this, Todd? I mean, we've got to start knowing, because we can't point people in the right direction.
Well, a few things on that, and really great thinking. Not trying to blow smoke up your asses. Can I say asses on here?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
We say a lot of words. So
okay. Those that are awake and prepared are already awake and prepared. There isn't time, unless people are really going to do a crash course and be super intensive and take a couple of weeks off of work to get everything prepared and in place. There isn't time for most people to develop any level of real competence to prepare for this, other than super really basic things. And if you're that person who I'm talking to right now, that's not me being disparaging to you. Do what you can. There's really basic things that will take you a really long way. But in terms of security, this is something I know a lot about. I'm also an executive protection agent, and I don't publicize it. I don't advertise it, but I do executive protection work on the side for very high profile, high net worth people. I know a lot about this. And there are things that apply in that line of work and things that apply for a family that just wants to protect their hearth and home, those that want to protect their neighborhoods. Okay. I think that you're going to know. I think that a time's going to come very soon where you won't be able to be in denial anymore, and you'll have to choose which side of the fence you're going to be on. You're not going to be able to ride the fence anymore and go along to get along. And I'm not advocating for violence. Josh knows me better than anybody. I hate violence. Okay, I'm here to help people protect themselves and protect what is good and just. So the first thing that I think that I want to say, outside of being prepared to meet your own needs and the needs of your family and those that you love, to be as self-sustainable as possible, because I do expect there to be major disruptions in utilities and shipping, distribution, et cetera, is stay close to home. I'm expecting some pretty nasty stuff to happen across the country that's planned and coordinated. And if you get too far outside of your neighborhood, people aren't going to recognize you, and they may they may think that you're the bad guys, just to put it simply.
Mhm.
If you stay close to home, then you'll know and recognize who doesn't belong there. And you'll have a sense of community and at least some sense of trust with people who are closest to you. And you'll have, mutual interests in mind to protect each other. So that's where I would start. I'd be really careful trying to be a cowboy thinking that you're going to go out and fight the next Revolutionary War. That's not wise at all. Stay put, hold the line, be non-compliant and protect what is right, protect what is just, and protect yourself within the laws that govern the use of force. Let's put it that way. If we just start there with those basic concepts, what's your immediate perimeter, right? Then what's the next layer out? What neighbors can you talk to? What checkpoints can you put in place? Who can be put on patrols? What are your communications? Those basic things.
Yeah.
Assuming that there isn't any power and we're without rule of law, things like that. And you have to just keep your immediate area as stable as possible.
Yeah.
And keep your immediate needs met.
It's always interesting to me. I know a lot of people some people always like Max, is it time to do the Patriot stuff yet? I'm like, no, you'll know when it's time, if it ever is time. But they have a plate carrier, but they don't have emergency food, right? They have a plate carrier, but they don't have water. They don't have a radio. They haven't been to the range in months, right? And I always tell them, get food, get water, make sure you have prescription medications, like do the blocking and tackling first before you even think about hopping in your car and traveling to some conflict, some far off conflict.
That's a fantasy, and it's a recipe for disaster. There's a very small percentage of our population first of all, I'm not recommending that for anybody, but there's a very small percentage of our population that's even qualified to think about doing such things. Okay. So the best thing, I've had conversations with people who understand what's happening here, and I've been studying and interviewing the foremost experts in the world on preparedness and what happens in societies when they disintegrate. And the best thing that you can do is stay close to home. If you have a bug out plan, that's cool. I hope that it's a really good one and you have all kinds of resources and lots of people to pull really highly trained security for you. Big bugging in is probably going to be your best bet.
Yeah.
That's what I've been telling folks for a long time. Everybody stay home for the most part if you can, and to get to know your neighbors, right? If you don't have community, you got nothing, And Todd knows that.
Yeah.
I'm always talking about
100%. Yeah, and it gets that does get a little bit tricky. You still need to practice good operational security, OPSEC, because if you are well prepared, but your neighbors aren't, and you want to talk with your neighbors, and you're like, well, you can't feed everybody, right? You can't help everybody.
You can't give everyone a gun. You don't want to give everyone a gun.
No, all of these things. So there are ways to go about this so that it's best for everybody. Right. So you do the best you can to do that, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
What are the pre-attack indicators? We've been seeing them. What the pre-attack indicators are. And to be quite honest, why I agreed to come on the show, because the pre-attack indicators are saying that this could very well be very, very imminent.
Yeah.
Imminent. If not immediate.
I'm not like a psychologist like you have training in it. I am poli-sci history, but if you're a student of history, you see when it repeats itself, and the steps that have to be taken to get people to turn on their neighbors. It's not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to get neighbors fighting neighbors, because as you said, you have this underlying community. You still know each other, right? You don't get to the Rwandan genocide without dehumanizing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you convince them that you're Tutsi and that the Hutus and the Tutsis are completely different and one side's cockroaches. It's not easy to do, but you have to go through those steps of dehumanizing them to get there. Mm-hmm. When I hear the trash comments, I think of that, right? I think of that. I think
it's Hitler calling the Jews rats.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Berman,
I try not to go to Hitler because
and
we're Hitler right now.
in Berman. But
Yeah.
see, but I don't think. But we're not. We're not. We're the opposite. Nazism is an acronym that stands for National Socialism.
Yeah.
We're the opposite of that. We're the opposite of National Socialism. We're the opposite of fascist. The definition of fascism is the blending of corporate and political power. They're the fascists. They're the Nazis. Look, check out the symbols, check out the emblems, check out the flags. Right? You know this. You guys know this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You guys know what? You guys know how the brown. You guys know how the brown shirts were rolled out.
Yeah.
And et cetera. Like this isn't a new playbook.
I see online, and one of the things that the left loves to use is they call MAGA. They call them maggots. MAGAT.
Still dehumanizing.
And that is like that's straight out of the Tutsi cockroaches. Like, I mean, you convince people that the other side are bugs that need to fall under your boot, right? I mean, that's the playbook, right? And it's only after you've convinced them of that you can get them to take the next step.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. I mean, like
I do trust me. I know what you mean. I understand how the use of archetypal symbolism to reach the unconscious, to develop certain types of associations against certain types of groups. I know exactly how it works.
It's very unnatural to convince someone that another human being is subhuman. That goes against biology. It goes against evolutionary tendencies. There is nothing natural about murder. It is, I mean, in like a kill or be killed situation. But
there are a lot of things about the woke movement that are literally not natural.
Yeah. So you have to take those steps of the dehumanizing steps to ever even consider reaching the points that you're talking about. And you look back and you go, wow, they're checking off all those boxes.
Yeah.
They're checking them off.
Yeah. It's all. So this has been a plan that's been in place for a long time. But what I want to encourage people, I'm a realist, but I'm very optimistic about what's out the other end of this storm that we're about to experience. Very optimistic about what's on the other side. But I'm just going to speak very plainly here, okay? Very bluntly. Not that I do it any other way, Josh knows, but
sure.
If you don't think we can win the fight, I don't want you in the foxhole with me. Get the fuck away from me. I'll fight by myself. If you don't, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about anybody. We have to hold the line, and we have to believe that we can win. And I guarantee you we are. And just to give people some encouragement, this is a war. That means there's there's two sides to this war. You're just not seeing it. And if you're paying close attention, you're seeing that it is the deep state that is getting their ass handed to them. Now, there's no guarantee anything can happen in a fight. There's no guarantee. The fight's not over till the fight's not over, and this fight is not over with. But from my point of view, and I feel like if I had enough time, I could wage a very good argument that would get people very optimistic. But we need to be cautiously optimistic. As someone who does a lot of fighting, right? Even though the momentum of the fight is on your side and you have them worn down and you can go in to finish that fight, that person that you're fighting is still very dangerous. That's where we're at. But I feel very comfortable saying that we have them on their heels, and we're in the last minute of the last round.
Let me ask you this, because the one side of this is that, like I said, you have to have that dehumanizing part to convince people to turn against other people. The other bit is you have to be able to convince good people, otherwise good people, to do bad things in the name of, they told me to do it. Like, I was just like Nuremberg. I was just following orders.
Very well documented.
Like those are the two bits. You have to convince bad people to do bad things and good people to do bad things. I look at what happened in Bucks County just yesterday, and thank God a judge stepped in and said, no, they're going to keep letting people get ballots. But you had these, let me put it on the screen. You had these, not cops, emergency services walking out and just closing places. One place is saying, oh, you're open for 5. And just so everyone's clear, Bucks County, Pennsylvania has flipped. It used to be blue. There's now more Republicans in Bucks County. So if you're wondering why are they closing a Philadelphia suburb early, why is that the only place that's getting closed early?
Sure.
That in Lancaster, it's because of the huge Republican gains in voter registration.
Of course.
The narrative of, oh, everyone should get a mail-in ballot goes away when the line is full of Republicans. But yeah. I see these people, and there's other videos. I don't want to just blame these guys, but there's other videos of cops closing these things down. And yeah. I can't believe we've gotten to that point already. Like it seems there's bad cops, sure, but there were a lot of cops participating in this just in a couple counties yesterday. I'm surprised we've gotten to that. I thought that was a little bit further down the road.
We got to that point a long time ago.
Yeah, you think?
And I know. and I want to be careful about being too specific about what I'm saying there, or to give you too many specific examples right now. But most definitely, I apologize for being contrary, Max. But
no,
I think it's healthy, right? Yeah. I think it's healthy. I know we've been at that point for quite some time. And I'm not surprised at all. Like they right now will pull. They are so desperate that they will do anything. They will do anything. And that's the soft stuff.
Yeah.
I want to stay on top of this because when we talk about rhetoric and we're building boogeymen. How did everybody forget that Donald Trump was nearly assassinated once based on this rhetoric, right? Let's not forget that there was a second assassination attempt and a third attempt. And the Democrats keep telling us that they're trying to tamp down the rhetoric, but it took less than 72 hours before they were coming back again. And the programming starts all over. So even with the assassination attempt fresh on everyone's minds, they still continue to ramp it up. And just today, Kamala says he's the biggest threat to democracy ever. I mean, are they waiting for attempt number 4, number 5? I mean, is there going to be something bigger? It doesn't end with Trump.
Says the one who hasn't received a single vote or delegate. Yeah. Says the one who was raised by a Marxist professor. Says the one who openly has been rated as the most leftist extremist in our government, right? That's what I'm saying. Like it's called. That's why the first words I said were projection propaganda. Yeah. They will blame the other side for exactly what they're doing, and it's very sophisticated, and it's also called the law of reverse action. It's a reverse psychology. So just to give you to the audience a little lesson on reverse psychology, I think a little antidote. I think that they might find
anyone who has kids, they know reverse psychology.
Yeah,
my kids are already pulling it on me.
Yeah, so the guy who created reverse psychology, his name is Milton Erickson, the Ericksonian psychology, and he literally developed it. And he lived on a horse farm, and they had a huge draft horse when he was a little boy that his father and grandfather could not get back in the barn, ever. Couldn't get him in. And as a little boy, he said, I have an idea. I want to try it. I think I can get the horse back in the barn. And so they said, okay, give it a shot. So he put the horse's butt to the door of the barn and pulled on the reins. Yeah. My wife and I have horses. Josh knows this, so I know how this works. And every time he pulled on the reins, the horse would go backward until the horse backed himself back into the barn. Yeah. And so that's what they're doing. That's how the law of reverse action and reverse psychology works, especially when you're talking about the mass communication. And if you look up, if you read books on how these orange revolutions work, that's what their propaganda is. That's exactly what it is. It's projection propaganda. Projection is blaming somebody else for what you're doing. And it's also a form of gaslighting, psychological warfare. So we just look at it and recognize it. Well, I'm a magician at a magic show. That doesn't work on me.
Can't get hypnotized.
There's real power in that. Yeah, there's real power in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you made me feel a little bit better coming on the show today and talking about some of these things. I know that we sit there and try to prepare, man, but we're what, 6 days away from this.
You're
That's
making me
6
feel
days.
worse. You're making me feel worse. I live in San Antonio, and that's like the Air Force capital of the U.S. We have 2 major Air Force bases. It's where they have the Air Force boot camp at Lackland. And my whole thinking is like, if they tell them to drop the bombs, they're not going to drop the bombs on my neighborhood because they live in my neighborhood. Right. I mean, that's a hard thing. Like, drop the bomb on your own neighborhood is a hard barrier to get past. But was seeing the cops and all that and thinking about it, you're like, have they already broken through that resistance? And that's a scary thought, living next to 2 Air Force bases.
Okay,
well, remember, there's another side to this war.
Which is what?
Well, if there's a war, there's 2 sides that are fighting each other.
Yeah.
There's good guys. There's good guys out there doing good stuff. Trust me, you're just not seeing it. You're just not hearing about it. And remember, if you don't have the book, The Art of War, check it out. Yeah. When you are strong, appear weak. When you are weak, appear strong. When you are close, appear far away. When you are far away, appear close. When you are small in numbers, appear large in numbers. When you are large in numbers, appear small in numbers. Right. So there's that law of reverse action again. It's the art of war is the art of deception. It really is. And so my suggestion for the audience is be careful playing in interpreting the obvious values and what's on the surface. That's where it's going to be the most confusing. Dig past the surface and dig into the deeper layers of what's happening. And you'll see the pieces on the chessboard, and you'll have a clearer vision, and it will help you to make better decisions.
Well, when the phone lines go out and the internet goes out and the TV has one channel with just a looping message, it's gonna be hard for people to figure out what the hell's going on. I don't know if I have a solution. I mean, radios are good. Radios are good if you have radio.
I do. Pray.
TV. Yeah. Pray your way into a Radio Shack or whatever the equivalent is.
Pray. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Pray. Use your discernment. Let your higher power guide you through your decision making. There's nothing that can confuse that.
Love it.
Yeah.
We're morally objective. We understand truth. We understand goodness. We understand right and wrong. We understand free will. We understand these things. And as long as we understand what those core principles are, then that's the direction we will go. There's nothing that can confuse that. They can try and distort that all they want to. That's not confusable if we are well grounded in that area. That's why I sent to Josh a little thing that I had written the other day, like, make no mistake, evil can bring us to our knees. Mm-hmm. But what they don't understand is when we're on our knees is when we are at our strongest. You see? Yeah. And when we rise again from that prayer, now we are absolutely invincible.
Yeah.
You get fired up at his stuff. You got to go take
some. You got to get fired up.
Some IDS, man. Like every time
he talks. I want to jump to IDS. Before I do that, want to let everyone know, friend of the show, friend of the program, Matt DePerno in Michigan has been going through Michigan voter files. And I'm not sure if this has been explained away yet or if this has been just explained. But he's finding that the same voter ID number, which is unique to the voter, he's seeing a lot of them voting many times at a lot of different addresses. And I think that the statistic he mentioned after going through the voter file of people who've already voted is that there were 114,545 unique Michigan voters who, according to the system, have cast 279,000 ballots already. Now, I'd love to say that this is just a copy-paste accidental duplication, but the bullshit meter's going off. So we're going to keep our eye on this. But Matt DePerno is a friend of the show. We've talked to him for years. Yeah. He called me not too long ago. Yeah, no, it's
not shocked. So
what if that leads to the military stepping in to hold a special election because Space Force has been forensically tracking every single vote for the last 3 or 4 elections?
Whew.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Now you're also talking about factions within the military.
Factions within
that
factions.
exist. Factions within the military-industrial
Yeah.
complex.
Who created Space Force?
Trump.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I like where your mind's at on this, but what really terrifies me is the factions. Like the stage that this sets.
There's nothing to be afraid of, no matter what. This is what I want to say to the audience. The Bible says more than any other phrase, be not afraid, fear not, fear nothing, fear nothing, fear no one, fear nothing. There's no reason to be afraid. And even if you're feeling the emotion of fear, Jesus himself felt the emotion of fear. It's documented in the Bible that Jesus was literally sweating blood when he knew that he was going to be tried and crucified. But he lived perfectly. Okay? What I'm telling you is you might feel afraid, but that doesn't mean that you can't move forward anyway. That's what courage is. That's what bravery is. Be not afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be terrified of. That's what they want. The more afraid that we are, the more suggestible we are to their messaging, overtly and covertly. I know what I'm talking about. Formally trained in this, okay? Be not afraid. Recognize it. Look at it objectively. And know that it's just a feeling, but a feeling is not a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have said it better.
Nate Silver.
Right.
Nate Silver, he's the guy who is trying to be as bullish as he can on Harris. Can't do it. His model can't predict that Harris wins no matter how much he tweaks it, no matter how much junk data he throws into it. His model still predicts Donald Trump winning 54.6% likelihood. So we'll see. But I want to give you a chance to talk about the training that you do with IDS, because Josh speaks incredibly highly of it.
Well, thanks for that. Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for speaking highly of it. The page that you're on right now is for people who are interested in becoming instructors through our program and the affiliate program. But I have another page I'd like to plug if I can.
Okay. Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind pulling it up, it's check out idscitizendefender.com.
Got to put that on my list.
And that's for people who, if you go to the all content page, you'll see all content there. You'll see 18 different courses. If you keep scrolling down, and this is for people who want to train from home.
Oh, wow.
What we've done is we removed all of the barriers of entry to training on a regular basis in a very cost-effective way, in a highly effective way, where there's an awful lot of science that's gone into motor learning and skill acquisition and how this website is interactive and you can track your progress. There's all kinds of really cool stuff that's really cutting edge that's on that website. So for most people who are interested in learning how to defend themselves for real, that would be a really good place to start. And then we have 54 affiliates all around the world. And you can find out on our other website where those affiliates are at so that you can go to a place where like Josh is at to go train with them. Right, at Rocky Mountain Self-Defense if you're somewhere near Denver. Okay, we have those. We're on 4 different continents. Okay, we're all around the world, and it's our style of training is so cutting edge, but it's taking off like wildfire. So it's geared specifically with citizen defenders in mind.
Let me ask you this: the most martial arts I've ever done was a white belt in karate when I was a kid. Didn't go back after the first couple sessions. Do have some boxing experience. How long would it take for someone who is decent with that, decent with being able to hit a target? How long would it take for them to get up to speed where you say, okay, actually you can probably defend yourself?
That depends on the person. Depends on how often they're training, because there are no cookie cutter absolute answers to this. That would be intellectually, I would sell really well if I gave a clear cut answer, but it's not intellectually honest for me to give a cookie cutter answer there, because there isn't one. That's going to depend on the individual and how serious they are and what their current attributes are and experiences are leading into it. But I'll put it this way.
But as opposed to like a Buddhist system where it's like
our process is
you'll be training your entire life.
Our process, Josh will tell you, is specifically designed for deep and accelerated learning. Okay. You don't have to wait until you're a black belt in 5 years before you finally start doing things that are applicable. Everything that we do is applicable on day one. That's how it's designed. We know on day one of your training, you might have to leave there and use it that day.
Sure.
Okay. So that's without getting into a whole bunch of neuroscience and skill acquisition and all that kind of stuff. The point is, it's designed to get you. That's going to be up to you how serious you are about it. It's designed to get you where you need to go as quickly as possible.
The only reason I ask is because there are some martial art traditions like kung fu. They say you will never.
We're not.
You will die unprepared. There's always more to learn.
We're not martial artists.
Yeah.
While I have a lot of martial arts background and training, I don't call myself a martial artist. I'm a citizen defender. Okay. What we teach you is combatives. We don't teach you. There's nothing traditional or ornamental about what we do. We're all about getting the job done.
Yeah. And
period.
to give you some idea, if it were, it's like I'm hooked on phonics. Phonics worked for me. Well, IDS worked for me, right? If I can do it, anybody can really pull it off, because Todd knew how green I was the first day we were together. But I worked my ass off the past couple of years. So
it's going to be up to the individual.
Yeah, anybody can do it.
That's the point is it's scalable. It's designed to fit you, not you fit it.
Yeah. It's a blast. Sense. I love it. So
makes sense. So IDSCitizenDefender.com.
IDSCitizenDefender.com. And please check us out on our social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Integrative Defense Strategies. Check us out. We're always putting out educational and training content all the time.
Well, here's a question. Because I've talked to Josh about this. You're in certain areas, not in certain areas. If someone does the online version, can they then turn that into in person later?
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
So it's not like it's two different tracks. Those are tracks that do converge or can converge.
Most definitely. Yeah. And there's different avenues for that convergence to happen. Yep.
Yeah. Because Josh always tells me, like, I'm going to Minnesota. You should come too. I was like, I gotta get started somewhere other than Minnesota. I gotta get started a little bit more local than going to Minnesota for a class. But
we have an affiliate in Houston.
Yeah.
But I would suggest checking out the online program, and it'll really give you a good base and foundation. It's contrary to say, this might sound weird. Josh knows how much I study this stuff. There's actually a lot of real research out there that suggests that it's beneficial for you to learn and self-teach yourself through video. That your performance will actually be better by self-teaching yourself through video than having in-person instruction. Now, if you go deeper into the learning, well, the in-person instruction can be very helpful. But with the initial, what is most functional, the research shows it's actually better that way.
Yeah,
makes
sense.
He's on. I've watched TV my whole life. That's going to work.
Do you mind if I go through a quick list of things here that people can keep an eye on before we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
This is an abbreviated list of things that I think is reasonable for the audience to anticipate, and there's no specific hierarchy to this or order it could happen. And any of these things, think of it as a kind of a big array of dominoes. When one dominoes go, they can all go. Okay, that's probably how it will happen. First one is to keep an eye out and be prepared for cyber attacks. Okay. Then election integrity concerns.
Yeah, all right. It's already happened.
World war, specifically nuclear. We think about what's happening in the Middle East.
Korea, jumping in.
Yeah, and then we've got, and by the way, if you guys want to, we can drill into any of these, right? We've got terror threats we need to keep an eye out within the United States, especially with the border that's been open for so long and a lot of fighting age males that have crossed the border. There's a lot of serious concerns there.
No, they're doctors. They're doctors and engineers.
Yeah. Consumer economic instability.
Yeah.
Right. Stock market volatility. Banking insolvency and instability. Monetary concerns with the undermining of the value of the purchasing power of the dollar. With BRICS being formed and the OPEC countries no longer trading dollar and oil since June 9th, I believe it was, or June 10th.
Yep.
Something like that. And
that's going to be fun. If Trump wins, it's going to be fun seeing him go after that.
With the rest of the world no longer really trading in dollars anymore. It's that's I talk about that global economic reset. Well, what happens when your global reserve currency goes belly up because everyone's sold off their treasury bonds and they're no longer trading anything in dollars, and they've stopped. The BRICS summit was just last week.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do I have written down here? The disruption of primary, secondary, and tertiary utilities, supply chain breakdown, cultural conflicts, religious conflicts, and then I have government/corporate corruption, because they're really the same thing. Right now, there's no separation between the corporations and the government, which our founding fathers warned us about, ironically. And then pandemics, and then extreme weather, and major earth changes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in a tinderbox, and if a spark goes off, well, that can set off a chain of events. Yeah. And I would anticipate that.
You just don't get to lay out a list like that and not us dive into that. We won't be able to do it today, but I'd love to have you back on and dive into some of what those mean, especially before January 6th, maybe even again before the election, just because this is messaging we need to get out. Like I preach this to people every day when I see them, but this is a bigger audience, right?
I'm not gonna lie. I came in today bullish, like, let's go Trump. You got me worried.
No,
I have Trump rally clips ready to go.
This week, Kamala.
I'm all bullish on this, and you're like, watch out for bricks, watch out for the nukes, watch out for the viruses. I'm like, oh,
get your gas back.
I forgot about
everybody. The
you should be. You should be bullish. I'm bullish. But listen, hold on. Let me say a few more things here. I promise I'm going to let you go soon, okay?
Okay.
But we're matadors.
Yeah.
Lead the fight.
We're matadors. We just sidestep. We have to know what the bull is capable of. And that's what I'm doing. I'm laying out the pieces out. I'm telling you what this is, all the different things that the bull can do. Like, I know what you're saying, but I'm taking that metaphor and I'm turning it on its head, right? We're matadors. Be bullish, but we take the bull down.
Damn right.
A lot of matadors die. And when you get non-matadors in the running with the bulls, there's scorings, tramplings,
right?
Well,
I don't doubt that you're a matador. If I
told you,
I said I'd hop in and hop right out.
I suggested keep it simple and stay close to home.
Yeah.
Right, but we're matadors, and I'll tell you what. I'm gonna. It's fun to joke like this, but this is like, this podcast is taking the fight to the bull. Yeah. This conversation and what you guys are doing is how the war is won. It's how the war is won. You are winning. You are on the front lines. You are the counter narrative to this fifth generational propaganda I was talking about. You are doing it now, right? And then this is the cyber version, right? But then soon it'll be like the real world. Like, how are we going to take care of hearth and home when this tech stuff is no longer working? You'll figure it out. Yeah, move forward, everybody. Move forward with absolute certainty that you will prevail and that you will make it through the storm. Okay. Soon Trump will post on X. He will post, "The storm is upon us."
Yeah. All right. Well, it's like this with you, man. First we're like way up here, then we're down here, then we're way back up here, and he hits it over here.
That's how the fight. That's how fights are. That's how fights are. They're messy.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, we appreciate coming on. We'd love to have you back on, and especially
anytime.
Dive into self-defense stuff too, because we didn't get.
I appreciate what you're doing, both of you, and you and your audience. Just know you have my respect. And I'm here for any time you need me.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you very much.
Well,
thank you, guys.
Everyone head on to idscitizendefender.com and check it out. Todd Fossey, thanks for joining us.
See you later, buddy. Have a good one.
Fun. There's an awkward laugh. You got to laugh about it, but you also can't laugh. But you can't survive if you don't laugh about it.
Yeah, and if you don't talk about it, you can't be ready for it.
I'm Irish, so I try to laugh at everything.
I know.
But yeah, I'm going up and down. Bullish, crap, No, oh yeah, oh crap. Let's just have the election now, and then we can all figure out what we need to do. This week of up and down. You're garbage. You're Nazis. Yeah. Biden saying he wants to go
emotional
bring
roller
Trump.
coaster.
Biden saying he wants to bring Trump into open water to drown him. Like that got covered up by the garbage. Like the sitting president said he wished he could take Trump into open water. That's not so they can play Marco Polo. He wants to drown him.
Or tell, it's Todd like all the dog whistle stuff. All that dog whistle stuff.
What do you got, Todd?
What?
Keep your eyes on True North. wait a minute. Did I miss that? Hold on. Let me get my glasses.
Do it again.
Let me get my glasses. Yeah. Hold on. I missed that. What was that?
What is it? What?
I don't know. I thought you guys did something.
No. You were talking. I saw you talking to us in the lobby.
Oh, I said keep your eyes on True North.
All right. So you are kind of a martial artist. You're giving us some Confucius, some teachings.
The Art of War.
Right out the window.
The Art of War was written by Sun Tzu. That's what's going on right now. Get the book. Read through it at night.
Todd,
I read it years
Which way is
ago.
Minnesota going? Is Minnesota going to go red or blue? Red or blue? Red or blue?
I'll tell you, the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate, Royce White, is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
You've actually seen him in some IDS videos. Believe it or not.
Yeah, okay.
And he's up against Amy Klobuchar. I think he's got a good chance.
Rasmussen out literally right now. Harris,
but I think Minnesota goes red.
Ooh.
Last time I was there, I saw Trump signs inside the mall at the kiosk things. You don't see that. I've never seen that before in Minnie or the Mall of America. But I don't go there a lot. So
if Minnesota wins, we'll end it here. If Minnesota does win, her choosing Walz will be the worst decision anyone's ever made in picking a VP.
Absolutely.
I think it's one of the reasons why we're going to go red, because I think a lot of Minnesotans were asleep to the reality of Walz until all this exposed him.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
All right, well, thanks again, Todd. We just were right back because we saw you talking a lot.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Fight the good fight. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I brought him on.
Help yourself. Yourself.
I brought him back on because I saw him talking. And I'm like, what do you got to say? He's like, keep your eye on True North. Like, that's Confucius stuff.
Well, he does that. Like, if you take a Todd class, he hits you with this stuff. You're up, you're down. And, like, at the end, you're like, I feel amazing. It's blast.
Well, 6 days.
6 days. 6. I couldn't find the camera.
Early voting in Pennsylvania. So if you're in Bucks County, you're Republican, get out there, early vote.
Yeah.
Looking really good in Arizona.
If you're in Nevada,
Georgia, looking
get
really good.
People out. Tell them to vote Republican for the first time ever. There's too much at stake. Call people in New York. If you know anybody in New Jersey, ask them to go out and vote Republican. Now's the time to go after deep blue states.
Yeah,
they're on the road.
No, now's the time to win it. I love a popular vote victory, but you got to focus on. Like, I like Trump going to New Mexico and Virginia, right? I kind of this is the roller coaster of emotion, right? Part of me thinks he should just stay in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, just those 4 states. Just stay there. Stay there.
I get that because that's the swing state. Those are the monsters. Those are the key states, right? I get it. Yeah. But as we move on to 2028, it's time to start saying New York is no longer blue. New Jersey is no longer blue, right?
The map of New York is mostly red. Now, land doesn't vote. People vote. All the people happen to be in the blue parts. There's lots of people there. But in terms of, like, once you get outside of Albany, Poughkeepsie, and New York City, outside of that, it's pretty red. Because it's just Rust Belt.
You can see the signs.
Yeah. The problem is there's just not a lot of people there. There's not as many people there as there are in New York City. But we'll see. 6 days. If you like the podcast, if you like this conversation, want more podcasts like this, subscribe, like us, comment, share, Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube,
Tell
Rumble,
people.
X. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays when we go live. We also have the audio edition of the podcast. We try and keep this as audio friendly as possible, so you can listen on your commutes or listen as you're doing chores around the house, whatever. You can find the audio edition of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Audible, all great places. Pretty much everywhere you can find audio podcasts, you can find our podcast. Special thanks again to Todd Fossey for joining us. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back our country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.